Hello students, I am Dr. Panduranga Nayak, Principal SVS College Bantwal. We were learning as to how to prepare income and expenditure account given the receipts and payment account and certain additional information. Today let us solve some more problems. I am beginning with problem number 6. Receipts and payment account of Mumbai Sports Club is given here. Added to that, some adjustments are also given. Let us take the adjustments first. By financial year is 1st April 2019 to March 2020, 30th March 2020. So it's not a calendar year, it's a financial year. 1920 is the accounting year. Alright, now it's given lockers rent. Lockers rent, it's a revenue item. It's given here. Lockers rent 5,500. So this has to be taken in the income and expenditure account credit side. It's a receipt. So it's an income. But then it's given lockers rent 600 for 18-19. That means not for the current year. Therefore, of the 5,000 you have received, you have to deduct 600 rupees because that's relating to previous year. And income and expenditure account is prepared on accrual basis. Only current year income you have to take. And 900 for 1920 still due. It's still to be received. Therefore, these 900 rupees are to be added to the lockers rent 5,000 on the credit side of income and expenditure account. Rent of 13,300 relate to 18-19. That means rent here, it's an expense. Expenditure, it will come to the expenditure side of this. 13,300 is relating to last year. Therefore, it should be deducted. Similarly, current year's amount due 13,000. It's relating to current year. It is unpaid. Therefore, it should be added. So, both paid and outstanding should be taken for the current year. If any item is relating to previous year or last year, that should be excluded. Stationery expenses 3,120 relate to 18,900. You got stationery. Stationery means paid for stationery 30,680. Of this 3,120 relating to last year's stationery expenses, which are due, were unpaid last year. So that has to be deducted. And still due for the current year is 3,640. That should be added. Stationery item, it's a revenue expenditure. Therefore, it should be taken to the debit side of income and expenditure account. Then subscription unpaid for 2019-20 4,680. See here, subscriptions are given, but separately given here. 18-19 paid 2,000. Received 2,000. So separately it's given. So pre-received, say 3,000, separately given. So what is the current year subscription received? 1,69,000. So we have to take only the subscriptions received for current year. Supposing they give total subscriptions, then subscription received for the last year should be deducted. Subscription received in advance should be deducted. And current year subscription outstanding should be added. But here no, it's not like that. Separately given. Therefore, we take only subscription received of current year 1,69,000. And it's given subscription unpaid rupees 4,680. That means members have not paid so far. Therefore, that should be added to this 1,69,000. In fact, while preparing opening balance sheet, these 2,000 will come to the asset side. And 3,000 received in advance, it's a liability that will come to the liabilities side of the closing balance sheet. And these 4,680 outstanding for the current year, that should be added to the current year income of 1,69,000. Then it's an item of balance sheet asset side. Anyway, let us confine ourselves to income and expenditure account. So 1,69,000. To that, uh, this 4680 should be added. Don't add or deduct 2000, don't add or deduct 3000 because they are given separately. Alright, then special contribution to annual party outstanding as on 31st March 2000, it should be that is 1920, it should be 20, by oversight it is typed as 2010. So current year outstanding 5500. But remember, special contribution to annual party, there are 34,500. It is for special purpose. If that is the case, that will come to the liability side of the balance sheet. A special fund is created. So to that, this contribution is added, 34,500. And what is outstanding, that is also added there. Therefore, this is not an item of income and expenditure account. Okay, that's about these adjustments. So this is not to be treated at all in the income and expenditure account. We come to the receipts and payment account. Balance brought down. This will not come to the opening balance. In the income and expenditure account. That will be taken in the opening balance sheet. And we are not preparing balance sheet. We are preparing only income and expenditure account. Entrance fees. Nothing has been mentioned here. Therefore, we'll take as revenue receipt. Even if you take it as capital item, it's okay, but you have to give a note. Then subscriptions, I told you 1,69,000 plus outstanding for the current year only, that should be taken. Locus rent is the income, revenue receipt, so adjustment should be made to this. This is an item of balance sheet. Come to the payment side, rent 52,000. To that, these adjustments are to be made. 13,300 should be deducted and 13,000 should be added. Stationery, okay, similar to that. Here is an item, 3,120 should be deducted from this and 3,640 should be added to this. Wages, no adjustment, so it is a revenue expenditure. Billiards table, it's an asset that will come to the asset side of the balance sheet. It will not come to the income and expenditure account. Repairs and renewals, so that is again revenue expenditure. That should be taken to the debit side of the income and expenditure account. Interest, okay, again interest, it's a payment, therefore an expenditure should be debited to income and expenditure account. Then balance carried down, this will come to the closing balance sheet asset side. So by this I have solved the problem, but anyway, see the income and expenditure account. Rent, last year's outstanding is deducted. The 52,000 paid includes payment for the last year, so deduct. And still outstanding 13,000 should be added. So this is the expense of the current year. Stationery, paid for stationery 30,680, but of that 3,120 is for the previous year, not for the current year, so deduct it. But current year outstanding is 3,640, so add it. Wages, no adjustment, 53,300. Repairs and renewals 8,060. Interest paid 15,000. Look at the entrance fees 5,500. We have taken that as revenue receipt unless otherwise specified. Normally it is taken as revenue income or revenue receipt. Subscriptions, okay, 1,69,000. Add 4,680 outstanding for the current year. So you will get this back. Locus rent 5,000. Of that 600 is relating to last year deduct. And 900 still receivable. Therefore add that. So 5,300. So if you compare the two sides, income is more than expense. So excess of income or expenditure, it's also called surplus. We don't call it as net profit because in the case of non-trading concern, the excess is not profit, rather it is surplus. On the other hand, if the expenditure is more than income, then it is deficit or excess of expenditure or income. I have given some notes here. Subscription receipt for the previous year and next year should not be included in the income and expenditure account of the current year. Special contribution for annual party and outstanding special contribution for annual party will appear on the balance sheet as special fund. Billiards table is an asset and therefore appears on the asset side of the balance sheet. Entrance fees are taken as revenue receipt. Locus rent is an item of revenue. Outstanding locus rent of the last year is deducted, current year outstanding is added. All this I have explained. We will take up a new problem. Receipts and payments account of Canara Bank Bangalore is given, and you have to prepare income and expenditure account as on 31st December 2020. So current year current accounting year is the calendar year, and it starts from 1st January and ends on 31st December of 2020. Look at the adjustments. Subscription for 2020 still receivable 8,000. Similar to the previous problem, 1 lakh is the subscription received for the current year. Actually, you have received 1,30,000. But of that, 1 lakh is for the current year, very clearly given. Previous years and next years is excluded. Therefore, 1 lakh is current year. To that, you have to add outstanding 8,000. Then interest due on investment 3,000. So here you got interest on investment 6,000. To that, you have to add still receivable. Rent unpaid. So here you got rent 12,000. It's unpaid. To the extent of 2,000 should be added because we are preparing that on accrual base, and I told you accrual base means entire year's expense, whether paid or not, entire year's income, whether received or not, should be taken. Similarly, outstanding printing expenses. So you are having printing and stationery 3,000. So still payable 2,000, that should be added. Now look at the receipts. Opening balance both for the in hand as well as at bank. This will come to the opening balance sheet in case we have to prepare a calculate capital fund at the beginning. So this will be taken. So here in the income and expenditure account, these values will not come. Subscriptions will come to the credit side, but only current year subscription. Sale of old newspaper, it is revenue receipt to be credited to income and expenditure account. Sale of old furniture. See, furniture item will come to the balance sheet asset side. It's an asset. But if there is any sale of asset, then the loss or gain should be incorporated in the income and expenditure account. Here, book value is 6,000, and the value at which it is sold is 4,000. Therefore, the difference is 2,000. So 2,000 is a loss. Therefore, that should be debited to income and expenditure account. And here they have not mentioned when the furniture was sold and what is the rate of depreciation, and all those things are not given. Therefore, we simply compare the book value with the sale value, and the difference is taken as loss. If it is sold for 8,000, then there would have been a gain or profit on sale of furniture. That should have been credited to income and expenditure account. Interest on investment with adjustment should be credited to income and expenditure account. Legacies, it is a capital receipt. Legacies means donations received as per the will of the deceased person who is no more, and therefore it is received once in a way. So it is not recurring in nature, and therefore it is taken to the balance sheet, added to capital fund. It will not be taken in the income and expenditure account. Life membership is also capital receipt. It will not come to the income and expenditure account. Should be added to capital fund in the balance sheet. Donation for prize fund, again contribution to the special fund. So that will be credited to, yes, credited to prize fund on the liability side of the balance sheet. It will not come here. Whereas grants from government, if it is special grant, then that could be taken as an item of special fund, and that will come to the balance sheet asset side, balance sheet liability side. But here they are simply given grants from government. This could be taken as revenue receipt. Salaries, revenue expenditure. Rent, revenue expenditure. Printing and stationery, revenue expenditure. Government bonds, okay, that is capital expenditure, will come to the asset side of the balance sheet. That's an investment. Help to poor students, okay, that is revenue expenditure. And then prizes awarded, this is relating to prize fund. In the liability side, you will have opening balance of prize fund. To this donations, current year donations are added. and if there is any income from investment, that should be added, and then any expenses from the fund will be deducted. That's in the balance sheet. We have nothing to do with the preparation of income and expenditure account. Electricity charges, it's an expense. Sports materials purchased, okay. Yes, so there is no opening balance. So this is an item of asset. Telephone, it's a revenue expenditure. Sundry expenses, revenue expenditure. Subscription to periodicals, so it's recurring in nature, revenue expenditure. Closing balances will come to the closing balance sheet. See the solution, I have already explained everything. Come to the income side. Subscription received for 2020, then outstanding of the current year should be added, so 1,08,000. Sale of old newspaper, 1,000. Interest on investment, 6,000 received, 3,000 outstanding, 9,000 is the net. Grants from government, so this is taken as revenue receipt. Yes. Then come to the expenditure side. Salary paid is an expense. Rent paid plus outstanding together 14,000. Printing and stationery 3,000 plus outstanding, so 5,000. Help to poor students, revenue expenditure. Electricity charges, revenue expenditure. Sundry expenses, revenue expenditure. Subscriptions to periodicals 5,000. Okay, revenue. Loss on sale of furniture, I told you the difference between book value and sale value. So debited to income and expenditure account. Telephone charges, yes, revenue expenditure. So if you compare both the sides, debit side and credit side, debit side, that is more than the credit side, therefore the difference is taken as excess of expenditure or income, and therefore that is nothing but deficit. Alright, see the notes I have given. Subscription received for the previous year and next year should not be included in the income and expenditure of the current year. Only the subscriptions received for the current year should appear in the income and expenditure account for the current year. Further, the outstanding subscriptions for the current year should be added to the subscriptions received for the current year, which we have done it. Legacies will appear in the balance sheet as capital fund. Then donation to prize fund is a special donation. Therefore, that will appear on the balance sheet liability side as addition to prize fund. Grant from government is treated as a revenue receipt and entered on the credit side of income and expenditure account. Life membership fees is capitalized. Received from the sale of old furniture are capital receipts. Therefore, it should not be entered on the income and expenditure account, but the loss on sale of old furniture should be on the debit side of income and expenditure account. On the other hand, if there is a gain, that will be credited to income and expenditure account. Amount paid for government bonds is a capital expenditure. It's an investment, so it should not appear in the income and expenditure account. It will come to the asset side as an investment. Payment made for sports materials is a capital expenditure. Therefore, it should not appear in the income and expenditure account. Telephone means telephone expenses. It is revenue expenditure and debited to income and expenditure account. So with this, I have solved both the problems. That's enough for today. Thank you very much.